Well, it's that time of the year again. Time to dust off an old Halloween favorite. And this time, you're in for a treat. That's right, I'm taking you back to the first video game I ever owned. Monster Bash, starring Johnny Dash. On the classic MS-DOS. Back in the days of the MS-DOS, it was common for publishers to release a shareware version of a computer game, typically on floppy diskette, for players to try out their new game. It was basically a demo disc, except it usually contained a pretty decent chunk of the game, and in Monster Bash's case, about 33% of it. You see, the game is broken up into 3 parts, and parts 2 and 3 require the player to purchase the full game. Now, I have the original game on floppy diskettes, but I don't have a device that plays that kind of media. But thanks to Steam, I was able to revive an old favorite of mine and share it with you today. Ah yes, Apogee Software. This game was released in spring of '93, and Apogee has since become 3D Realms. And here it is! The graphics may reek with age, but for 1993, they were quite good, especially for DOS standards. Just FYI, this game is very gory. Now I'm going to play on easy mode because I value my sanity. This game is quite hard on medium, and I firmly believe it is not possible on hard. So what's the goal in Monster Bash? Well, the idea is that Johnny Dash's dog Tex was kidnapped by Count Chuck, and you have been tasked by some unknown monster from your room to travel into the underworld and rescue dogs and cats that Count Chuck is using to turn into his monster army. Along the way, you can collect various Halloween candy and destroy skulls for bonus points. And there is even a par-time for those who have become all too familiar with the level's layouts. Johnny can jump, crawl, and use his trusty slingshot to lay monsters to rest. The controls are actually quite good, and the first level is pretty easy. There is a door at the end of the stage that will only allow you to enter if you have saved all the pets. I was 6 when I first started playing this game, and I was stuck on this level for quite a while as I didn't fully understand what I was doing wrong. Thankfully, after some trial and error, I made it past the first level and beyond. As I mentioned earlier, Apogee released this as shareware with only part 1, and that was initially all that I owned. With our antiquated speaker system, we weren't even able to get the music to play, so all that I had was the PC speaker's sound effects. There is something called a sound blaster which allows you to hear the skulls laughing and Johnny Dash saying, "Awesome," every 5 fucking seconds. But I wanted you to actually enjoy this video, so I went ahead and turned that off. So anyway, here we are on level 2, and this is where we're introduced to vultures, skeletons, and snakes. I really admire what they did with this level design and the backgrounds. Well, for pretty much all of the levels, as you're going to see. The MS-DOS had a uniquely long lifespan. The oldest commercially released game for the system was released in 1979, with the final game being released sometime around 1995. Along with Monster Bash, we also owned Pac-Man, Dig Dug, David's Kong, yes, David's Kong. Talk about a rip-off. Anyway, Robotron 2084 and Frogger. So, to see a system go from AtariWare to complex adventure games and beyond is nothing short of incredible. Now we crawl through this log and go on to level 3. So level 3 is once again a graveyard level, except most of it's spent in the trees and under the surface. This is the first time that we meet Johnny's evil twin, as well as Count Chuck's first appearance. Anyway, shoot the crap out of evil Johnny and he eventually flies away. "You amuse me once again, Mr. Dash. You have bested your nemesis for now. You will be back when he has grown stronger."
Please call me Johnny. Mr. Dash is my dad's name. Also, I'm like 10. Why would you presume such formality on a child?
Level 4 is our first change of scenery with this big-ass fucking dragon. I spent way too much time in my youth trying to A, figure out a way to kill the dragon, and B, how to go through the door that the dragon is in. Firstly, the flame that comes out of the dragon's mouth is instant death. Well, isn't that fucking peachy? And secondly, don't bother. It's a waste of time. So, where am I exactly? Well, I appear to be in some sort of ice cave. There are these giant stone monsters who were probably rejected from a never-ending story. That's right, 80s kids. That one is for you. And now we need to figure out what we need to do in order to make these little plants grow. One crazy idea is remove them from the fucking ice cave. But what do I know? So I come across this stone puzzle, which is really easy to get soft locked on and not be able to go up on that platform. It's not like it's a secret area, so it must be important, right? Maybe there's a pet to save up there or an extra life. I mean, that would be nice. Why is this so monotonous? So I finally get up there, and what's this? Candy and 2 enemies? This is such bullshit. The treasure chests are a complete waste. I ignore them as much as possible because I don't give a shit about points, and that's all you get from them. So get this. Johnny Dash can climb a waterfall. A waterfall. First of all, shouldn't it be frozen since we're in the ice caves? I mean, we have stalactites and stalagmites everywhere, but somehow the water isn't frozen? Second, is Johnny's last name Dash or Aquaman? Johnny eventually finds a bottle. Now, what do you need that for? Oh, okay, to put water in it. Okay. Well, Johnny must be thirsty. I mean, if I was running around killing zombies, I'd definitely be pretty parched. Oh, what's this? He just made that vine grow with water, like instantly?
That you want us to put water on the crops.
Yes.
Water. Like out the toilet?
So yeah, level 4 is a long one. The part time is 16 minutes. And once you wrap up that drab looking level, level 5 is more of the same. The flagpoles are checkpoints. And thankfully, the first few levels are liberal enough with the lives that you can actually rely on them. But make no mistake, Monster Bash becomes one hard son of a bitch. Johnny can't swim. Don't even get me started. But thankfully, it is an instant death if his head goes below the water. The problem I face with this enemy is that he takes a few too many hits, and his dead-on accuracy effectively turns your health bar into a cab meter, as you're almost guaranteed to take a hit. This part of the level is an easy death trap, so it pays to be careful, especially if you start running low on lives. This is also one of those locations where I am really glad that I didn't talk myself into attempting hard mode. Oh god, no. Right, so here I am with 1 hit point left, barely making it to the health power-up. Level 6 brings us to a lumberyard.
An evil
Lumberyard. This is another level where health management is a must, and there are parts of the level that you want to rush through, and other parts where you're going to need to take it real slow. There are also these blue witch's shoes that'll kick your scrawny little ass to safety, or to total peril, depending entirely on where you position yourself. In my experience, if you take this part of the level slowly, you'll take more hits than if you just kamikaze your way through. And now for the part where you need to be careful and slow your ass down. There are random hands throwing knives, which you can't do anything about but dodge, countless skulls, and precarious platforming. Here's me doing a pretty lousy job managing my health. Luckily, I pulled through and I got the health power-up. Just by the skin of my ass, though. These conveyor belts are just bullshit. They don't really add any challenge. They sure are annoying, though, aren't they? We're getting into the haunted house levels of part 1 with level 7. And now we are coming up against the invisible men. So with these guys, you can just walk into them, which doesn't hurt you. But their hat, on the other hand, will incur some pretty serious damage. Now, what does this remind me of? You also can't work this level out the traditional way, and you have to shoot light fixtures off their mantles in order to find a way to the upper echelons of the house. You've also got some pretty schwanky firepower with rockets and fireballs. How anyone can use a wooden slingshot to shoot fireballs is totally beyond me, but whatever. In addition to shooting the lights out, you've also got fireplaces to climb, couches to bounce from, and fans to destroy the motors from. Because, you know, who the hell needs, I don't know, stairs? Oh, it's a good thing they warned me about the stove. Ah, what the fuck? So level 8 is just this super long couch, and what my recommendation is that you crawl to the end of it first, and then turn around, because once you start bouncing on the couch, you can't stop. There are plenty of 3-shot power-ups, however, some of the cages are in such a precise location that you're not going to be able to hit them dead on. What has to be the best level in Part 1, without a doubt, is level 9, the haunted mansion next to the graveyard. This level is fully involved, like a firehouse sandwich, and really tests your skills from the previous 8 levels of the game. You also get a hint at the beginning of the level, which clues you in on the bookcase later. And it, for some reason, drops a piece of cheese. And I'm not entirely sure what the point is of the cheese, except maybe it's a reference to the little rat that runs by at the beginning of most levels. By the way, the rat's name is Frank Lloyd Rat. He's mentioned a fair amount of times in the game's story as a guide of some sort, but he actually does jack shit for you in the game. So in the house, we find this bottle of glue, which is pretty random, actually. And then Johnny puts the glue all over his footsies on his PJs. Why? Well, to walk up the trick staircase, of course. Duh! So then why wouldn't this walk cycle slow down for the rest of the level? You know what, never mind. I'm just glad there's no logic or consistency in this, because that would suck ass. So this level has an inside and an outside portion, and the outside contains a rooftop section where you can kill a rocking horse for some reason. Well, I mean, it is a horror game, I guess. And snag an extra life, thank God for that, in this tremendous attic. My God, get the people from Hoarders out here to check this out. Excuse me, sir or madam. Dare I ask what you have in those 1,000 suitcases in your attic? Now, if you've made it this far, congratulations. You now get to square off with the first boss of the game, Cyclops. Shooting his eyes actually kills him faster, but you can basically shoot him wherever, and there's plenty of large rock power-ups that'll, you know, get the job done a bit quicker as well. Otherwise, try to position yourself wisely when he jumps, because he'll bounce you all around the place. Luckily, there's no pitfalls or instant deaths. Once you've defeated Cyclops, Count Chuck, why is that his fucking name, invites you to dinner, and he simply won't refuse your refusal to join. And this is the end of part 1. Will Johnny escape his heated situation? First, let me put my name on the scoreboard. I guess, let's see. Bobby Bonbons. Perfect. So now that I've shown you the cheap bastard portion of the game, because it was free, let's move on to the broken piggy bank portions, because you had to pay a lot of money for those. Parts 2 and 3. I remember how excited I was when the floppy disks for 2 and 3 came in the mail. That's right, we had to mail order these little bastards. So how does Johnny escape from his predicament? Oh, he can just hop out, can't he? Son of a bitch! What a ripoff! The fire's not even on anymore. It looks like we're in Hell's Kitchen, but really though, you know? Oh, nobody's left. Monster Bash Part 2 gives us some new enemies as well as some new music and scenery. In a lot of ways, I feel as though I'm playing a sequel and not just a second part to the first game. So in part 2, we're also introduced to these giant exploding demon heads. Fuck them. Fuck them to hell. Seriously can't stand them. One new enemy that it introduces us to is the giant eyeballs, which I like to call eye testicles. Testicles. Yeah, there you go, testicles. And, yeah, you knew it was coming. Evil twin Johnny comes back, and is once again easy to defeat before he runs away like an evil little bitch. Level 3 is the game's second boss, and boy is this a waste of imagination. It's a fucking hand. Just a hand. Holding a pitchfork, but still. The background is cool, so I'll go ahead and say that much, I guess. I have to understand the thought process here. Hey, we're making a game about monsters, you know. So, give me some ideas for a boss. Well, Frankenstein? Nah. The Mummy? No. How about a fucking hand? A fucking hand, okay? A hand! I guess Satan charges by the body part so they could only afford the hand. Level 4 is strange to me. This is basically a super easy version of the previous part's level 6. I'm honestly surprised it made the cut. I mean, I went ahead and recorded the entire level and sped it up a touch, just so you can see how embarrassingly short it is. Yeah, it's a shitty, sloppy run, but I just wanted to prove a point about it being short and overly simplified. I guess I will say that a lumberyard's a pretty original idea for a horror game level. You know, I'd give them a hand for that originality, but I'm afraid they'd turn it into a boss. Level 5, second part. Back in the ice caves. New music and some new flying mosquito enemies. Otherwise, really nothing special here. What are you still on this level for? I have nothing else to say about it. Move on. Level 6 brings us to a castle. Well, at least that's new. With chattering teeth, which don't take away your health, but do prevent you from using your weapon. And witches, who cast spells. I gotta say, after the last couple of levels, it's a breath of fresh air to see something a little bit different. I was a little worried after seeing the lumberyard again and the ice caves again that we would probably be seeing something from the first game again. But no, this is some good variety here, and the level's got a nice even challenge to it. Alright, hang on a second. I have a civic duty to claim my high score fame. You'll do well to remember the name Bill Bon Jovi. Level 7, and we are at another castle. And hold the phone. You get to save this hot princess? What's going on here? I thought he was just after the dogs and cats, but I guess there's an alternative storyline here. Haha, psych! It's just a witch. I mean, why would you think he's like 10 years old? Why would she? You are one sick bastard. Level 8 brings us to a laboratory with Medusas, who don't hurt you but do turn you into stone, leaving you vulnerable for attacks, of course, until you can free yourself. And really aggravating obstacles, such as false floors, which really pissed me off. I call that Castlevania 2 syndrome. And these orbs, which test your reflexes, but actually test your patience. Ah! Oh shit! Did that just happen? I think that brain monster in tennis shoes almost crashed the game by hitting me with that projectile. That's right, they can actually crash the game, making them the single worst enemy in the entire game. Make sure to save your progress, that's all I can tell you. So it's the third boss, and it's the end of part 2, and we get another obscure, boss level with Dr. Fly, who, like the other bosses, is not hard at all, just shoot for his eyes. So let's recap here. We've had Cyclops, the Devil's Hand, and Dr. Fly. Here's a crazy idea. Instead of the Devil's Hand, or maybe instead of Dr. Fly, what about that dragon from level 4 in the first part? That would have been a really cool boss. No? Okay. Well, I mean, if we're gonna go ahead and tell Frankenstein and the Mummy to go screw themselves, I guess the dragon's out of the picture too. What a damn shame. What a wasted opportunity. Okay, wait a minute. So Dr. Fly's actual name is Igor or Igor or whatever. I've been watching too much Young Frankenstein. Igor? Well, that makes even less sense. So there's Igor, but there's no Frankenstein's monster. Okay, I promise that's the last time I bring that up. So part 2 ends, and this time Count Chucksteak sends you to an old village to reunite with Tex. Oh, a fake out? Well, duh. If you have part 2, you probably already know that this game isn't over because you also bought the 3rd installment. I like how Johnny doesn't even give a shit anymore. He just stands there and he's just like, all right, look, man, I'm like 10 years old and I have killed a lot of monsters tonight. I'm going to be pretty fucked when I get back home. High score again? My name? Okay, sure. Lemony George. All right, for those of you who are still with me, thank you. Part 3, and this time, Count Chucksteak is on the cover. I wonder if we'll be seeing him. Of course we will. It's going to be the most epic boss fight ever. Well, that was anticlimactic. I killed that werewolf with just a few hits. The abandoned village is creepy. Like if Resident Evil 4 was on DOS, this would definitely be what the village would look like, I think. The music for this level is actually pretty superb, too. So when I kill these walking jack-o'-lanterns, their head just ejaculates pumpkin pieces all over the place. Man, I hate these pumpkin-y idiots. Level 2 takes place in the woods, and for some stupid-ass reason, there's an alien running around. Okay. Maybe a spaceship would have been better suited for that, but I guess an alien can get lost in the woods? Sure. Level 2 can go straight to hell for all I care, because there are some bullshit parts to this level, and if you're insane enough to be playing on hard mode, I feel bad for you, for sure. When you first start a level, there's a hint option if you press F10. In the hints, it tells you that some jumps may need a running start. There's this section towards the end that has a hand that makes you jump, and you have to make it past these headstones up an embankment. Running doesn't do jack shit, and you take damage every time you miss the damn ledge. What you have to do is run then jump on the hand at the perfect time to get the proper amount of airborneness. That's a word, right? Then when you get up there, you have to contend with these stupid-ass bear traps. I couldn't figure out how to not get hit by them at first, but then I later discovered that what you have to do is barely jump and then run under them. Well, how about putting that in your stupid hints? Speaking of bullshit levels that I can't stand, let me introduce you to the King and Queen, levels 3 and 4 of Part 3. Remember how I said that Johnny doesn't die right away when he touches the water? Well, these 2 levels give a big middle finger to that concept. After struggling through the previous level, you'll undoubtedly be seeing a lot of game overs here. And sad as I am to say it, level 4 is where most people throw in the towel and cheat. Johnny gets 5 lives if you hit Z and F10. There, I said it. I didn't want to, but there it is. Okay. Now, listen, I don't fault Part 3 for being the hardest to beat because it makes sense that it would go from easiest to hardest. I just hate how cheap most of my deaths were. Level 4 is still at the swamp, and you have to contend with several leaps of faith. Gotta love that. Over instant death traps. Gotta love that. You make it to the, quote, city in the sky, unquote, and then guess what? You get to leap of faith your way to the end of the level. Level 5 is a combination of 2 elements from the first game, interestingly enough. We have a haunted house, which leads you to the basement pipes, where you fought the Cyclops earlier. Yeah. This time, there are plenty of witches and Medusas, naturally. There are plenty of light fixtures that can be shot down as well in order for you to progress upwards and onwards. I feel like this level combines a lot of elements from parts 1 and 2 together, now that I think about it. Level 6, and we are getting close to the end. I actually had a very strange nightmare about this level when I was younger. But anyway, the entire stage is made up of bones, and you have to use your patience, mostly, and also shooting skills to move platforms around to slowly finish this tedious mess of a level. It's not even challenging, it's just time-consuming in a very annoying way. Come on, when is this going to be over with? Oh my god, is this still going on? Come on. Level 7. Okay, so we have another level completely made out of human skeletons. As long as we don't have to push any damn rocks, man. That's all I care about. Give me some ideas for enemies. Okay, skeletons. Okay, good. Medusas? Sure, why not? A green tiger plane. You're fired. No, wait. What? It drops missiles with faces on them. You're fired again. Get the hell out of here with that. This is the last time you square off against Evil Johnny. This time, you actually kill him, and you get to take over his broom. And here we are, the last level before the final boss, and I have to say the variety is pretty nice. We get this sweet rockabilly MIDI music with Johnny flying around saving pets and casting spells at enemies. It's nice to get away from the slingshot for once, even if this is the only time. At first I couldn't figure out how to get inside this structure in the middle, but eventually I found that you have to ride a cloud inside. The lightning above you is impossible to avoid, so once again, if you're playing this on hard, I warned you. I mean, you're never going to get this far on hard anyway, so what's the point? So just a quick last-minute edit before we get to the final boss. It's actually not impossible to avoid the lightning. If you actually jump onto the top cloud and then position yourself in a way to where you fall to the bottom cloud after the lightning strikes, then you're cherry. So just want to get that out of the way before the comments start flowing in. Level 9. This is it. Count Chuck is awaiting for our arrival for this final epic battle. We've worked long and hard to get here. This should be legendary. Oh, wait a minute, what the shit is this? He's asleep? Hey, Apogee, you totally fucked up on the final boss. What the fuck is this? I mean, look, I've always had a soft spot for this game, but the biggest problem with Monster Bash is just simply the bosses. First of all, they're not evenly spread out. You have one boss in the first game, you've got 2 bosses in the second, and then 1 in the third. Well, that doesn't really make any sense. And then you have a sleeping vampire, the sleeping final boss. I mean, that's not a good way to end the game. This is definitely an F for a final boss, which is, it's really too bad to have to play through 28 levels and then this is the end result. There you go, Count Chuck. Even though this game takes place at night and you were asleep, even though you're awake the rest of the game. So you kill the sleeping vampire and he falls onto some spikes and warns you about his in-laws. What the hell kind of ending is this? On a more positive note, you get your dog back, and you saved all the other pets, so... Hey. Wait! I just got some super exciting news about this game. Check this out. After 28 years, Monster Bash is getting a remaster on Steam. So now Monster Bash is going to feature leaderboards, new challenges, level creation, and of course, upgraded graphics. We'll check this one out at a later date, but I wanted to make this known.